you talked about the pressure being on Ohio State. Do you think Ryan Day feels that pressure? Because I think truly, if Michigan wins this game, he's immediately on the hot seat by a lot of Ohio State fans.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think he's pretty confident in his skin right now. I think he understands that you just don't show up and win this game on Saturday just because you're Ohio State playing at home and Michigan hasn't won there since 2000. 22 years it's been. I think he recognizes you have to have a plan and work the plan. And, people have asked him, well, after last year, how did you cope with it? And he said, would be real easy to get upset and, stomp up and down and be mad about it. But what they did was they tried to identify what the problems were, why they had issues in that game, the Oregon game, and whatever other game in between. And they set out to try and remedy those issues in the spring, in the summer, in the fall. And now they are a much better team defensively, probably a somewhat, excuse me, improved team in terms of physicality on offense. Their offensive line's given up 7 sacks for the season, which is pretty good, which was a major problem last year in the Hutchinson-Ojabo fest there in Ann Arbor. So I think that they have tried to make improvement across the board. They're not one-dimensional as much maybe as they were last year. And they've done that against a backdrop where they haven't had one running back who's been healthy from one week to the next. They've had to rotate guys in and out. And it's worked out, to this point. Is Dallin Hayden ready to be that guy against the University of Michigan? Well, he had 100 yards against Indiana and 100 yards against Maryland. And, now you're stepping up in class here. You're no longer an acclaimer. You're in the Kentucky Derby now, son. So, so we'll see how it goes. But I think you got to like the way his progression has gone. And if they have to turn to him, then he's going to do everything he can. Mayan Williams, to me, is built for this game. If he's healthy, he's the kind of physical running back that will get you 4 yards pretty much every carry. And, that's what you need in these tough moments. And can Ohio State convert on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2? Last week against Maryland, it was 4th and 1, and they threw a pass. And it was incomplete. And everyone's like, what in the bloody blue hell was that? It was like it was a strange moment, I have to say, to see that they just didn't line up and go over, left guard, left tackle and pick up that first down. So to me, a lot of questions on both sides, but you ask whether does he have to win this game? I mean, we had fans, somebody tweeted at one point this season, they better win the Michigan game or he's gone. And I'm like, dude, he's now like 31-1 all time against the Big Ten.
Do you know how many teams would literally do anything for that?
Exactly. And not only that, you think about the long term of this. There's the short term for Ohio State winning a national championship in this window with C.J. Stroud, because his days at Ohio State are numbered. There are about 6 weeks left in his career at Ohio State. And this is the window. This is the time. Get it done now, or you're going to have major regrets, just as you had with Fields, that you didn't win one with him, that you didn't win one with C.J. Stroud, because he's the best quarterback that they've had, right in that pantheon with Fields and maybe Smith and, maybe one or two others that are right up there as the very, very best that the school has ever had. And it would be a regrettable moment if they don't at least get to the championship game this year, if not win the championship. So to me, that's kind of the litmus test right now that, you got to win this game to get to all that other stuff. But to me, the long-term thing about this is when the playoff does go to 12 teams every year, Ohio State, with the way it's recruited under Ryan Day and the coaches they have in place, is assured of making that playoff, let's say, conservatively 4 out of every 5 years. I mean, they've been in the top 5 at the end of the year every year back to 2011. So
think of this, Steve. think of this, Steve.
They're in the
If
playoffs.
you take out the Luke Fickell
You
year,
would never disrupt Ryan Day, just losing this one game to know that you have 10 playoff berths coming in the next 11 years. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mark. You were saying about.
no, I'm sorry, I was interrupting, but I've rolled this one out a few times that if you take out the Luke Fickell year in 2011 and you go to a 12-team playoff, the last time they miss a playoff is 2004.
Yeah. Yep.
They make the playoffs like 17 straight years.
Yeah, sophomore quarterback that year was Wick and Smith kind of splitting the reins, and the defense was suspect a little bit. But yeah, and the running game was the worst they've ever had. So,
in terms of Ryan Day being on the hot seat and fans wanting him on the hot seat, you already have some fans who want him on the hot seat. So those people are
crazies.
Well, and it's irresponsible. It is. Those are the same fans that after beating Michigan like 6 or 7 times in a row, they're like, it's not even a rivalry anymore. They become entitled to it. And so then when they don't get it once, they're going to shut everything. They want somebody's head needs to roll. If I don't get this, what I have become accustomed to having, if you keep my birthright from me for 2 years, you should be fired. And it's nobody's birthright. It's nobody's entitled to that win. That's why it is the greatest rivalry in all of sports, because you have to go and get it, and nobody owes it to you. It's not yours to begin with. It's something that has to be gone and gotten and fought for. And it doesn't just get handed to you. And nobody wants it more than Ryan Day. Nobody wants it more than Jim Harbaugh. And if it doesn't happen 2 years in a row, what happens? What about the other 13 games? If you measure everything with if Ohio State fans measure everything with the Michigan game in terms of just 2 losses, that's insane. That's insanity. John Cooper got to lose 10 times. Ryan Day is not going to be given the opportunity to lose 10 times, but 2 losses. And the reason it's dangerous this year is because next year's game is in Ann Arbor, and it makes it an even more difficult place to play. That's one of the reasons you don't want to lose it this year. But this year, there are people who say the hot seat. I think to me, it's this dichotomy of paying the ultimate respect to losing to Michigan and also paying no respect to it, because it's hard to beat your rival year in and year out. And if you don't do it 2 years in a row, is that the worst thing in the world? Yes. Is it something that should be punished? Not yet.